Please be seated. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to invite Mr. Chris Tobin, representative of the Darug people, to offer the traditional welcome to country. Mr. Tobin.
Thank you. Ora me nalawa. Hello and welcome to the lands of the Wallamedigal. I belong to one of the Aboriginal families of the Darug people, the traditional custodians over this part of the country. I wish to thank the University for their acknowledgement of us and for the invitation to welcome you here this afternoon. That acknowledgement is important for our people and much appreciated, particularly by our elders. Education is highly valued in Aboriginal culture as well. Knowledge meant survival, and our elders are traditionally accorded great respect for their accumulated wisdom and experience. My family descend from Yarramundi, a respected elder and cleverman of the Burruburrungal during the early years of colonisation. Excuse me. He saw that our survival in this new world could best be secured if we could learn more about it. As such, he enrolled his daughter, Maria, into the Native Institution, a school set up in 1815 by Governor Macquarie himself, offering formal education to Aboriginal children. She studied there for several years and used her newly acquired skills to lobby and ultimately secure some land for herself and her family out along the Richmond Road. Other Aboriginal families soon joined them, and it became known as the Blackstown, where present-day Blacktown gets its name from. We are very proud of her, as I'm sure your families are of you here today. And with good reason. Your progress progresses us all. Your advancement is our advancement. Now that was perhaps more readily understood in traditional times when clan groups were smaller and people abided by strict sharing laws. Meant the food that you brought back from your day's activity was distributed throughout the rest of the camp. Your good fortune and efforts literally nourished the rest of the community, and you in turn were supported by them. Yes, we can live quite beautifully when we get clever about it. Our Aboriginal ancestors certainly did in many respects, and I use occasions like this to offer them to yourselves as a benchmark or a model on how good to expect your lives today. You see, when Captain Cook arrived here a little over 240 years ago, he described the people he encountered at Botany Bay as one of the happiest people he'd met in the world. They had nothing, he wrote, but the tools that they carried. They made shelters from the bark of trees without cutting them down and harvested food from the land without tilling the earth. In traditional times, everyone was accorded rights to the country or clan area where he or she was born into. So there was no homelessness and no rich and poor either. Everyone had pretty much the same amount of gear, what you could carry. We had no armies or jails or even police. We have no history of slavery or empire building. People cooperated to collect the resources that were needed, and then they were shared out according to strict Aboriginal laws. Our lands were maintained in their natural state, with people drinking out of the creeks here as they have done for the past 20,000 years. Now remember, this is not an ideal, this is normal life, or was. And there's no reason why we should expect less for ourselves and our children than what our ancestors enjoyed. So I would say to you, expect great things from your life, and do great things. There's still a lot of magic in the world. And I believe that working together, we'll be able to provide a future that's worthy of our children and a country that's just and healthy and happy again. It's our birthright. Anyway, we can all do our bit. I'll do mine by getting off and letting you good people graduate. So I want to say congratulations to all of you and all the best in our collective futures. Thank you. Welcome to country.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce the Deputy Chancellor of Macquarie University, Miss Elizabeth Crouch.
Graduates, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. I'd particularly like to welcome our occasional speaker, Professor Andrew Rogers QC, and our former Deputy Chancellor, Dr Malcolm Irving. Particular welcome for both. It is my great privilege as Deputy Chancellor of Macquarie University to preside at this very important ceremony today. First, I welcome our graduates. I hope that this will be a very happy and memorable occasion for all of you. You deserve to take pride, great pride in your graduation today. Completing a degree is never easy. You need an intelligent and inquiring mind. You need determination and perseverance. You need to make many sacrifices. But that hard work has paid off, and I congratulate each and every one of you on your achievements. Today, I also want to especially welcome those of you who are sitting behind our graduates as their invited guests, because you've all done well too. The very fact that you are here, the fact that you've been invited by one of our graduates to share one of the greatest days of their lives is proof positive that you have been an important influence. So, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, cousins, sons and daughters, grandfathers and grandmothers, friends, husbands and wives, partners, boyfriends and girlfriends, congratulations and thank you for celebrating this great occasion with us. I have another important service for you to perform for our newest graduates. I want you to make sure that the degrees they receive today are never ever put in the bottom drawer, but are always proudly displayed in a position of prominence. In other words, if our graduates are too modest to proclaim their success, I want you to make sure you do it for them. The ceremony that we're about to participate in is one of the world's oldest social rituals. For centuries, graduates have been donning robes just like the ones our graduates are wearing today and participating in ceremonies just like this. Indeed, there are some 50 universities in the world that can trace their history back more than 500 years. Macquarie, by comparison, is relatively young at just 49 years of age. However, in those 49 years, we've come a very long way. We now have more than 145,000 Macquarie graduates living across more than 140 countries. We've boosted postgraduate research programs and invested in high-performing academic and teaching staff for the benefit of our students. Macquarie is a very modern and outward-looking university. We are regarded as one of Australia's leading research universities and are currently extending our research, as we are with our course offerings and facilities. We are always ready, willing and eager to engage with the world around us. On your way here today, you may have seen our new Macquarie University Hospital, which is used by students and academics alike in the School of Advanced Medicine. You may also have seen or used our new library, which provides a 21st century learning and research environment. And there is also our new Hearing Hub, the Australian Hearing Hub, which is a world-leading institute dedicated to advances in hearing, speech and language sciences. So it's clear we're forward-looking and we're on the move. However, some of the things that we value so much about Macquarie will not change. The friendliness of our staff and our students that all our visitors notice and comment upon will continue. The beautiful park-like grounds that make this campus so enjoyable. These things will stay in your memory and remind you of your links with Macquarie, links we hope that you will maintain through our alumni network. Remember, you will always be welcome. We want Macquarie to always be a leader in teaching and learning and a leader in the accumulation of wisdom, knowledge and understanding. In other words, an ideal community of scholars. And in just a few minutes, it will be my very great honour to confer your degrees upon you and welcome you as lifelong members of that community of scholars we proudly call Macquarie University. Thank you.
Deputy Chancellor, I call on Ms Audrey Markowski, who's graduating today with an honours degree in the Bachelor of Arts, to speak on behalf of the graduating group. Ms Markowski.
Deputy Chancellor, members of the University, fellow graduates and guests, as of today, Macquarie University will be our alma mater. Alma mater. The Latin phrase alma mater is translated as nourishing mother. I admit I had to look that up, and I think I can safely confess now that I have almost graduated that I actually looked it up in Wikipedia. The Wikipedia article says that the term alma mater is rarely used outside the United States. And furthermore, it states that in the United Kingdom, use of Latin, now considered a dead language, is normally reserved for scholars, symbolic and decorative purposes, or plant species identification. The article then continues with, under circumstances where the term college would suffice, the usage would often be considered highly pretentious. Highly pretentious. I don't believe it is pretentious at all. I really do believe that the university, particularly this university, has been an alma mater, a nourishing mother to me. In 2007, I came to Macquarie to commence a Certificate of Languages in Spanish. This was to be part-time, as a mature-age student, for just a few semesters to gain a little bit of personal growth. I soon switched to an almost full-time degree and moved my major to mathematics. And I can assure you that over the past few years that I have had all the personal growth that I could have ever imagined possible, and then some, as I completed my undergraduate degree last year and my honours year in mathematics this year. Now I have applied for a PhD scholarship in maths. So from a part-time certificate in Spanish to an undergraduate degree to an honours degree and now a PhD application, that is what Macquarie University, its tutors, lecturers and professors enabled me to achieve. And I know that all of us here today, each with our own personal story, are immensely grateful for the encouragement, mentorship and scholarship of the staff of this university. In this regard, without argument, this university has been our nourishing mother. Now, I know some of you are going to find this very difficult to imagine, but not all students are as enamoured as I am with mathematics. And as I tell my more apprehensive first-year maths students when teaching them, if a middle-aged mum can do it, well then so can you. So I suppose, full circle, I am trying to be their nourishing mother as well. Nobody receives a university degree in a vacuum. And as we approach the podium today, we will not be alone. We all acknowledge our families, those who are here today and those who are not, for their support and encouragement, often over many years. Sometimes they have walked beside us, and sometimes they have carried us. Whilst our families are taking pride in us today, we are taking even more pride in them. They too have been our nourishing mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, partners, and children. Steve Jobs, in his address to the Cornell University in 2005, said, "You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future." For many of us here today, these are our first fledgling dots. For others, like me, we have lots and lots of dots. And I can assure you, looking back, that these dots have connected and reconnected in ways that I never could have imagined. Today, I believe we commence on a journey that, despite our best plans, will lead us in directions that none of us could predict. On this journey, some doors will be unexpectedly closed, and others will just as unexpectedly be opened for us. We need to seize the opportunities given to us, and in the words of that famous commercial, we should just do it. After gaining our qualifications today and leaving this ceremony, we will have obtained the privilege of a university education and all the benefits that it confers. I know that not only will we take pride in our alma mater, our nourishing mother, the University of Macquarie, but we will also strive in our goals and in our actions to be an alma mater to our family, our friends, our colleagues, and to our society. So, I think that when we go home tonight, we perhaps should update that Wikipedia article. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey, for sharing your journey with us. An interesting journey from Spanish to mathematics with a lot of interesting dots on the way in between. Please join me again in thanking Audrey for her speech. As Deputy Chancellor of Macquarie University, I especially look forward to presiding at ceremonies such as today's and conferring degrees and diplomas on those who have complied with the university's requirements for such awards. I now call on the Deputy Vice-Chancellor, Students and Registrar, Ms Deirdre Anderson, to formally certify the eligibility of those who have met the requirements for these awards. Ms Anderson.
Deputy Chancellor, I certify that all the candidates being presented here today and those who are absent have satisfied the requirements of Academic Senate for the degrees and diplomas they are to be awarded. Would all candidates for admission to degrees please stand?
In the name of the Council and by my authority as Deputy Chancellor, I admit each of you present and those who are absent to the degrees or diplomas for which you have qualified. Please join me in giving them a round of applause.
Will you please be seated? Deputy Chancellor, the graduates at this ceremony are from the Macquarie Graduate School of Management and the Faculty of Science. The Macquarie Graduate School of Management has a comprehensive suite of postgraduate, customised corporate and executive education programs and strives to develop leaders with a global mindset who create sustainable value and are good citizens. The Faculty of Science teaches courses and conducts research about people and our physical environment. It is the home to a number of internationally recognised research centres. It has links with industry and is building firm future partnerships, especially with companies located close by at Macquarie Park. Chancellor, I now call on Professor Alex Freno, the Dean of the Macquarie Graduate School of Management, to present the graduates and diplomates. Professor Freno.
Deputy Chancellor, I present to you the graduates and diplomates from the Macquarie Graduate School of Management whom you have admitted to degrees or awarded diplomas. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Business Administration, Bilal Alam. Shemiswaf Anderson. Paul Andrade. Arturo Ararte. Shainul Sushil Awad. Michael Stephen Barbara. Agnes Chang. Stephen Tai Hung Chang. Yvonne Cho. Evan Kalok Chong. Eric Chung Chi Chong. Elizabeth Louise Coots. Daniel John Davies. Mariela Rocho González Ramos. Mustafa Halani. Gary John Haskew. Stuart Ramsey Hayes. Andrew Friedrich William Hopper. Lam Hung, who has been awarded the Vice-Chancellor's Commendation for Academic Excellence. Stephen Leslie Irving. Yukari Isawa Hashimoto. Lisa Kane. Ninos Khanna. Christopher Rawdon Kennedy. Gavin Paul Landers. Jisheng Li Ao. Masayo Matsui. Masayo Moratra. Nilesh Modi. Kristen Jeanette Moss. Ratnamala Murthy. Tanya Fatima Mushtaq. Melissa Jane Naidu. Ben Lloyd Newling. Andrew Ng. Peter Yusong Pak. Badia Paki. Francesco Giuseppe Parisi. Robert Duncan Pridmore. Alan Michael Quinlan. Shamanthi Raghavan Iyer. Damien Laurent Rollichon. Michelle Louise Russo. Simon John Saunders. Neil Norman Sayer. Christian Schweitzer. Aaron Sen, who has been awarded the Vice-Chancellor's Commendation for Academic Excellence. Caroline Jane Sharpen. Kanwarinda Singh Sidhu. Albert Erlanga Suhali. Matthew Stephen Sykes. Julia Thomas. Jeffrey Edward Anthony Townend. Alexandra Zortzis. Lawrence Edward Ward. Sebastian Samuel Williams. Robert David Wilson. David Anthony Peter Gregory Winston. Raylene Joan Rowe. Hani Yessa. Victor Jum. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Management, Omoloyo Abiodun Adebayo. Kenneth Andrew Bevan. Melissa Faye Brown. Enoch Chan. Tejus Sunil Deshpande. Wirahena Diji Chineka Arasana Fernando. Alice Lilika Fafita. Therese Catherine Fletcher. Darren Gray. Darren Robert Harriott. Stephen Robert Howe. Amanda Fei Ming Khan. David Allen Keistner. Ko Yuk Keat Shirley. Arjuna Melinda Kotukwela. Abigail Lorna Kraus. Jiong Ju Lee. Ramon Enrico Sabido Leyetza. Connie Yi Peng Lim. Joseph Jayan Menon. Michael Adam Peter Milkserick. Christopher Michael Nubler. Mahesh Patabiraman. Nicholas Anthony Paul. Piyada Jane Fitkayu. Vashti Rebecca Robertson. Trent Lindsay Ross. Brendan Richard Rumble. Uranus Safeju. Adesh Singh Kandari. Gary Ko Cheng Tan. Kwok Viet Tran. Mitchell Beaumont Walls. I present diplomates awarded the Postgraduate Diploma in Management. Darryl Michael McDonald. Subhas Chandra Bosi Mikava Sagam. Sarah Amy Strong. I present the diplomates awarded the Postgraduate Diploma in Marketing Management. Kevin Barry Hilda. I present diplomates awarded the Postgraduate Diploma of Management. Andrew Heidi Wijaya. Hani Hamza. Valerie Ann Maples. Duncan Kent McDermott. Emma Kate Norton. Brendan Scott Wright. Deputy Chancellor, on behalf of the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Science, I present graduates and diplomates whom you have admitted to degrees or awarded diplomas. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, Dr. Stacey Newbold-Bright, for a thesis entitled Disks Around Post-Asymptotic Giant Branch Stars. Dr. Anthony Rees-Conn, who studied under a co-tutor joint PhD agreement with the University of Strasbourg in France, has been awarded the Vice-Chancellor's Commendation for a thesis entitled Structure of the M31 Satellite System, Bayesian Distances from the Tip of the Red Giant Branch. Dr. Rajesh Ganazan, for a thesis entitled Time and Wavelength Resolved Measurements of the VUV excimer emission generated in a windowless dielectric barrier discharge in pure argon and helium. Dr. Hilary Madeline Green, for a thesis entitled The Use of Colour and Movement in Statistical Graphics. Dr. Jonas Jakutis Nito, who studied under a co-tutor joint PhD agreement supervised with Universidade de São Paulo in Brazil for a thesis entitled Low-Grain ND, YLF Lasers Operating in the Quasi-3-Level Transition in Raman Lasers. Dr. Guanfeng Lu, for a thesis entitled Trust Management in Online Social Networks. Dr. Hei Yang Sun, for a thesis entitled Towards a Security Management System for Composite Web Services. Dr. Daniel Armand Sutantio, for a thesis entitled Some Theoretical and Practical Aspects of the Use of Elliptic Curves in Cryptography. Dr. Robert James Williams, for a thesis entitled Advanced Point-by-Point Fibre Bragg Gratings. Dr. Yihao Zhang, for a thesis entitled Element-Oriented Analysis for Financial Knowledge Discovery. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Philosophy. Bernard Power for a thesis entitled An Investigation into Statistical Methods of Signal Comparison. Usama Salama for a thesis entitled Applications of Metadata in Digital Forensics and Access Control. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Applied Statistics. Tamas Gantner. Hua Jiang. Albert Zongyo Zhu. I present the graduate admitted to the degree of Master of Chiropractic, Tay Lee Benson. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Master of Information Technology, David John Walker. Jae Sun Wan, who has been awarded the Vice-Chancellor's Commendation for Academic Excellence. I present the graduate admitted to the degree of Master of Laboratory Quality Analysis and Management, Amal Ibrahim. I present the diplomate awarded the Postgraduate Diploma of Information Technology, Shirianjaya Hasitha Moligoda. I present the diplomate awarded the Graduate Diploma in Information Technology, Subudunjaril Mitchell. Congratulations. I present the graduate admitted to the honours degree of Bachelor of Arts with First Class Honours, Audrey Jeanette Makowski. I present the graduate admitted to the honours degree of Bachelor of Science with First Class Honours, Mark Andrew Saywell Eastlake. I present the graduate admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Advanced Science, John Joseph Bernardinus. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Chiropractic Science, Beda Ildajani. Peter Jessica Gormley. Balraj Singh Augra. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Bachelor of E-Business, Timothy Brewster. Melissa Francisco. Yujing Liu. Polina Perezalina. Luba Skalrad. Yunan Wang. Linzu Ziu. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Information Technology, Alistair James Arcilla. Michael Carr. Katie Chen. Jianzhu Deng. Emily Dibb. Anthony Duong. Mark Colin Fotheringham. Benjamin Gibiek. Eden Halil. Razik Raymond Halka. Bayo Kong Ho. Xiongming Jiong. Jason Kok Wing Ko. Jung Hoon Lee. Amanda Lum. Nigel Yu Hung Muk. N Ho Yin. Siho James Pack. Cavishan Pather. Joseph Kagila Rana. Nicholas Kevin Santosa. Douglas Ian Brooke Shearman. David Reese Simpson. Eng Young Tan. Stephen Putra Tendoko. Wahab. Iwan Webisono. Kevin Tsiu. I present graduates admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science. Matthew Richard Drover. Kieran Thomas Finane. Bright Chobina Hagan. Tala Kiroglanian. Alex Jonathan Stokes. Zian Wei. Wei Yin Yoon. Deputy Chancellor, that completes this afternoon's presentation of the graduates from the Macquarie Graduate School of Management and the Faculty of Science.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you would agree that superb performance deserves another round of applause. Please join me in thanking Angela Brewer. I would also like to, at this point, pay thanks to our musicians, organist Dr. James Forsyth, and on the Chinese flute, Mr. Chai Chung-ni. Can I also take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the representatives from our alumni community who give generously of their time to come and help us at events such as these. So please join me in thanking our alumni members. As part of this graduation ceremony, we honour a member of staff from the Faculty of Science who has made an outstanding contribution to student learning at Macquarie University. I'll now call on Professor Bruce Doughton, Vice-Chancellor of Macquarie University, to read the citation. Professor Doughton.
Deputy Chancellor, it gives me great pleasure to invite Dr. Maurizio Meneghera to stand for the citation. Dr. Maurizio Meneghera is a 2012 winner of a Vice-Chancellor's citation for outstanding contribution to student learning. Dr. Meneghera won his award for seamlessly integrating technology, in particular videos and the iPad, to deliver unit content in a new way that flexibly meets the general needs both on campus and in distance education, whilst also responding to individual needs. This has resulted in an outstanding improvement in student retention rates in the teaching of statistics and a demand from peers in other disciplines and in other institutions to learn from Dr. Meneghera's comprehensive schema of dynamic online lecturing and tutoring, marking and assessment, and indeed reviewing and researching. Deputy Chancellor, I present to you a truly worthy recipient of the 2012 Vice-Chancellor's citation for outstanding contribution to student learning, Dr. Maurizio Meneghera from the Department of Statistics in the Faculty of Science.
Thank you, Vice-Chancellor. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our occasional speaker, Professor the Honourable Andrew Rogers QC. Professor Rogers was admitted to the New South Wales Bar in 1956. He was a judge of the Supreme Court of New South Wales in charge of the commercial list, and some years later was appointed the Foundation Chief Judge of that court's commercial division. Professor Rogers also has extensive business and academic experience, including non-executive director roles with New South Wales Treasury Corporation and as a visiting professor in the Faculty of Law, University of Technology. He was also Foundation Chancellor of Southern Cross University. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Professor the Honourable Andrew Rogers.
I suppose I should start off by saying, Viva España! Deputy Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, members of the faculty, my friend, who is a former Deputy Chancellor and did me the honour of coming along. We had to give him lunch, of course, but nonetheless he came. And most of all, students, graduates. My most sincere congratulations and best wishes for a happy and fruitful life enjoying your degree. May I start off by apologising. My first apology is for the fact that I neglected to do what I'd done for many years when I was at Southern Cross University as the Chancellor. We felt that it must be a family occasion, and we thought that mothers having to take their children out whilst they were having a little cry or playing up, and perhaps missing fathers, uncles, or whoever it is, sexist, isn't it? The mother's opportunity to get the degree was inappropriate. So, thinking laterally, I positioned people in the body of the hall who had lollies, suckers, this, that, and the other thing. Being a visitor here, I couldn't and didn't do the same thing. So for any mother or other relative who had to take a child out, my apologies. My second apology, however, is more important. Professor Freeney, the Dean, is an old friend, and I thought until this minute, or until earlier today, that I could rely on him. I was under the impression that I was going to speak to graduates in law and speak on a topic which might be of interest to them. My most sincere and humble apologies to anybody who's going to be bored stiff by the paper that I'd prepared for students. However, there is a consolation. I'm not going to keep you very long. Look, it shouldn't take more than 2 hours at the outside to deliver this speech. One of the things that you learn as a lawyer is to be ready to switch for the occasion, and I've done that. I'm not going to deliver the short 2-hour paper that I promised you. Instead, I would like to speak to you about disappointed expectations and how that may affect your professional life and indeed your everyday life. You may or may not have noticed in the paper the other day that some 30 years ago, Mr. Alan Bond, of great fame in this country, managed to transfer out of a company called Bell Resources a huge sum of money, which then somehow or other disappeared. Just the other day, that saga came to an end because the banks that were thought to be liable to refund the money finally agreed in a confidential settlement to repay a lot of that money. You may well ask, how does that affect you or me, and how does it play on great expectations? Well, almost everybody here who has been in the workforce or intends to be in the workforce will at some stage have had or will have shares in banks. And the banks are going to pay out not millions, but hundreds of millions. Indeed, it may well come to a couple of $1 billion. That is bound to affect the share prices and the future conduct of the banks. The question that I'd like you to think about, if you would, is why did it take something like 30 years to get to a point where the money is paid back, to use a euphemism? Well, of course, one of the answers is very near to my heart, and it paid for my children's education, my grandchildren's education, and if people are unlucky, my great-great-grandchildren's education. Lawyers had to be paid for their services. But putting frivolity to one side, is there something wrong with the system? See, you've got a number of gatekeepers. The first set of gatekeepers are the board of directors. Where were they, or what were they thinking about when Alan Bond transferred that money out of Bell Resources? But put that to one side for a moment. Where were the auditors? We've got great expectations of auditors. That seems to have been disappointed, inasmuch as no alarm bells were sounded, nothing happened. But worst of all, from a lawyer's point of view, is the reflection that it casts on the system of justice that we have, that it took this long to get the money back. And let me now tell you something that I feel quite embarrassed about as a lawyer, and which is probably not in the public arena. Since I left the court, I've been working on other methods of resolving disputes, avoiding lengthy court process. I won't go into the details of it because it's boring, but about 5-6 years ago, after the first round, when hundreds of millions of dollars were expended in costs, the initial case went for well over a year. I spoke to one of the directors of one of the banks and said, surely to goodness, there has to be a better way of disposing of this dispute instead of going on appeal. Well, he said, what you say sounds sensible. Let me get the General Counsel and we'll have a talk and see if there's some way of doing it. Well, he rang me back, and in the course of a long and happy, or by and large happy life, I've encountered many embarrassed people, but this guy would take the prize. And the reason why he was embarrassed was he said, look, I've spoken to a General Counsel. He's told by the lawyers that we're bound to win the appeal, so we don't see any need to try anything else. So another few $100 million went in lawyers' fees. More time elapsed. And they lost. And then there was going to be an appeal to a high court, at which stage common sense kicked in and they settled the dispute. But what I wanted to say to you this afternoon is this. Is it a sensible way of dealing with your superannuation funds to have litigation stretching over 15 or more years, costing hundreds of millions of dollars? So the point is, it's not just an abstract lawyer's concern about how justice should be administered. It touches you in the hip pocket, it touches your children in the hip pocket, if they've got a hip pocket, but if they don't have one now, they will have one sooner or later. And it behaves us all, I would suggest, to be worried about it. It's not just a worry for lawyers, it's a worry for every member of the community that you spend the money in what is, after all, a somewhat futile and useless exercise, except for ensuring that lawyers can drive Mercedes and BMWs and have not one but two beach houses. So what I would like you to go away with is this. The graduates are going to occupy positions in various facets of business. You don't have to be a lawyer. You shouldn't be a lawyer, if you take my advice, notwithstanding the Mercedes and the beach houses. But you don't have to be a lawyer to ensure that you, your financial position, and your children's financial position is safeguarded by a better system. I started off by speaking of great expectations. I'm coming to the end of my professional life, but I still have great expectations that the time will come when today's graduates will have a better system than we are bequeathing to them. I think I'm not being silly about it when I say that the system has improved during my professional life, thanks in no small measure to me, but putting that to one side, there's still plenty of room for improvement. It's customary at these functions to congratulate the graduates, and I do that wholeheartedly. It's customary to wish you well, and I do that also. But as well, I would like to say to you in parting, there are all sorts of challenges that you don't have to look very far to locate. And it's up to you to carry the baton and meet those challenges that are standing in front of you. You've been very fortunate, and I've been very fortunate. One of my sons-in-law is a graduate of this university. Some other relatives are graduates of this university, and it's a great institution. You've been very fortunate to attend here. I would suggest to you, if I may, that you keep up your relationship with the university, because there's a lot to be had out of being part of the fraternity of a great educational institution, and there's no doubt that this university is one of them. May I conclude by wishing you all the very best. And I do this not as a courtesy, but as a heartfelt wish that you will go forward and get all the hopes and expectations that you have realized, and that you will have a fruitful and happy professional life. Thank you.
Please join me again in thanking Professor Rogers for giving his time and addressing us today. Thank you. Graduates, this ceremony marks a change in your relationship with Macquarie University, but it's certainly not the end of your association with us. For the rest of your lives, you are part of that larger Macquarie family, our alumni body, and part of a network of more than 140,000 Macquarie graduates across the globe. We will keep in touch with you through our Alumni Relations Office, and hope you will come back here to attend alumni functions, to undertake more study, as I know many of you will, and to simply visit our beautiful campus. Graduates, the award of a university degree carries many opportunities and privileges, but like all privileges, it also carries responsibilities. I urge you to commit yourselves to a program of lifelong learning and inquiry, to set ambitious goals for yourselves, and to continue the hard work that has already brought you so far. I challenge you to continue to exercise sound judgment and initiative, and to always be generous in offering practical advice and wisdom to those you meet on life's journey. My hope is that as graduates of Macquarie, you will use what you have learned not only for your own benefit, but for the betterment of the whole community. And in all you do, I charge you to uphold the good name of Macquarie University. I hope that you will also always remember the people who have helped you along the way, many of whom are here with you today. So to acknowledge their contribution and to thank them for it, I'm going to ask you to do a few things. First of all, I'd like all our new graduates to please stand up. Now place your testamers on your seats. I'd like you to turn around and face your family and friends and give them a mighty round of applause. Now you can turn around, but don't sit down. Here on the dais are representatives of our academic staff, many of whom have supported you throughout your journey. Please join me in thanking them. The official party will now leave the graduation hall through the centre aisle and will be followed by our graduates. I invite all of you to please stand and remain standing until the last of our graduates has processed out. And then I'll invite you to join us in the Macquarie, overlooking the lake for some light refreshments. Hopefully this weather will hold off for us. Now, wishing you the very best for your futures, I'll conclude with the words of an old Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May sun shine warm upon your face and rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. Thank you.